one of Europe's biggest infrastructure projects 3 decades in the making. Stuttgart 21 is a rail megaproject with a price tag to match. It's also a case study in what happens when big ambitions run into a serious backlash. Its survival has constantly come into question, facing massive opposition for delays and cost overruns. Backers say the enormous engineering challenge will be worth it, providing the vital link in a much bigger European goal. But doing all that in a still active central station with thousands of passengers a day and opposition from all corners is no easy task. This is the story of how to attempt what many said would be impossible. This is Stuttgart 21.
Despite the estimated cost of $1.5 billion, Baden-Württemberg officials say the project would create a so-called megacity for Stuttgart and mean an additional 24,000 jobs.
In the 90s, Germany was in need of an uplift. Deindustrialization and unemployment are on the rise. The Stuttgart region losing 100,000 industrial jobs around this time. The city needed a game changer. Enter Stuttgart 21, a project promising jobs, urban renewal, a state-of-the-art transportation hub. Germany's national rail operator Deutsche Bahn essentially selling it as a silver bullet for all these problems. Politicians seeing it as a way to attract new investment, an opportunity to put Stuttgart back on the map. The national government agreed, signalling its support. The plan is nothing short of ambitious. 11 tunnels, 42 bridges, around 100 kilometers of new tracks. And then there's the marvel of engineering at Stuttgart Central Station, turning it from an above-ground terminal layout to an underground through station, freeing up 100 hectares of space north of the station for 2 new districts, one earmarked for green public spaces and another for the building of apartments and offices. This design was chosen to be fairly inconspicuous from above ground, so as not to overshadow the century-old existing station designed by renowned architect Paul Bonatz. But the project also includes the various tunnels and high-speed tracks leading into and out of the central station, including a faster airport connection. Deutsche Bahn expects this mega-project will benefit 10 million passengers a year, adding thousands of jobs to the region thanks to shorter commutes. The project will also contribute to a bigger ambition, the main line for Europe, a high-speed connection linking Paris and Bratislava running through Stuttgart. The costs for Stuttgart 21 mostly shared between Deutsche Bahn, the national government and the state of Baden-Württemberg. The project would be costly, the disruption enormous, but even the politicians who gave it their backing weren't ready for what was to come next.
Mit Wasserwerfern, Tränengas und Pfefferspray versucht sich das Großaufgebot der Polizei den Weg durch den sonst so beschaulichen Schlosspark zu bahnen. Sie wollen verhindern, dass die jahrzehntealten Bäume nahe des Hauptbahnhofs gefällt werden.
Opponents claimed the project was bad for the environment, not just the trees in the neighbouring park, but even for the groundwater under the city. Some were angry about the tearing down of a wall of the century-old station building, others saying the project was just far too expensive. The price tag in 1995 a bargain at just 1.5 to 2.5 billion euros. Since then, the costs have soared, now estimated to be over 11 billion euros, an increase of nearly 360%. In the 90s, the plan was to complete everything by 2008, but planning took longer than that, and building didn't even begin until 2010. Now the main parts of the project, including Stuttgart Station, aren't expected to be finished until the end of 2026. So what's behind the cost increases and delays? Stuttgart sits at the bottom of a valley, meaning a lot of water collects underground. Tunneling couldn't take place without doing something about all that water, and the pumping system originally planned was just too slow. That meant going back to the drawing board, coming up with a new groundwater plan to not only remove 7 million cubic meters of water from the ground, but to filter it and add it back into the groundwater supply. But seeking approval for it meant more delays, more costs. To make matters worse, tunnelers encountered cavities in the rock which made them vulnerable to sudden collapses, significantly slowing progress. While these are not necessarily unusual, they require careful management during tunneling. Perhaps the biggest challenge is this rock, anhydrite. If this comes into contact with water, it can swell significantly, increasing the pressure underground and potentially damaging or destroying tunnels. Above ground, funding questions have put the brakes on a digital signaling system known as ETCS, considered critical for the project. More delays. As if that wasn't enough, there's still no funding to continue a tunnel in the south, meaning the new underground station can't be connected to the high-speed rail line to Zurich in Switzerland. If this persists, the German rail authority could block the closure of the existing terminal station in order to maintain service to the south. If that happens, they've essentially built an €11 billion hole in the ground. So what comes next? As we've seen, the completion date for the station in Stuttgart has been delayed to December 2026, but the high-speed connection to the south hasn't even begun construction and could take until 2032. Some things are looking rosier. The high-speed line to the city of Ulm is operational. The 85-meter Filztal Bridge, one of the tallest in Germany, is already complete. The many other tracks, tunnels and brand new smaller stations are scheduled to open by the time the central station opens its doors. And it's there we can find the jewel in the crown, already completed, a massive concrete roof punctured by 28 supports, including a main central support much larger than the others, with a platform and an 11-ton staircase. Each of these supports acts as a skylight 32 meters wide. This monumentalism, an unnecessary cost and complexity to some, to others a demonstration of Germany's ambition and expertise. Stuttgart 21 is a microcosm of the challenges plaguing infrastructure megaprojects. Delays are rarely unavoidable, and budgeting for them is just as difficult. But critics accuse Stuttgart's project leaders of being overly optimistic with costs and timeline to secure political support and funding. And while it's tempting to get swept up in grand visions, it's important to ask those tough questions about costs and impact. But the engineering and architectural achievements already in place are impressive, a testament to this monumental undertaking by thousands of skilled workers. Stuttgart 21 is a lesson for big projects worldwide, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about the trade-offs that are inherent in urban development.